Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Edge AI podcast. Today, we have a truly insightful guest joining us, John Wood, the managing director of 3Point LLC. John and his team are at the forefront of technology transformation, especially helping direct to customer, e-commerce, and omnichannel organizations navigate the complexities of digital evolution. They're all about optimizing operations and driving growth in an ever-changing landscape. Today, our conversation will drive deep into world of AI technology and its impact on these transformations. We will explore how AI is not just a buzzword, but a practical tool for businesses looking to gain a competitive edge. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Shabazz. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk a little bit more about the future of technology and how organizations are hopefully going to navigate these waters and get some benefit from it.
That's great. If you want to give us a little bit of an intro of yourself and the company, that would be perfect before we get into the Q&As.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So I run a services organization, 3Point LLC. We work primarily with direct-to-consumer brands, helping them with technology and operations. So everything from delivery and execution of their technology initiatives and how those are tied to the overall business's strategic goals. And hopefully at the end of the day, the technology helps to serve the business. That's our main goal and get the most benefit from the tech stack. So
Sounds good.
a little bit about us.
So, John, 3 LLC focuses on technology transformation. From your perspective, what is the single biggest challenge direct to consumer or D2C nowadays, could they also call it, uh, e-commerce and omnichannel businesses face today when trying to implement new technologies?
Oh, wow. Well, I think that's a hard one to say that there's just one thing. I think they have a few
Yeah,
different things. If I
right.
was going to say, it's almost always underestimating what needs to be done, whether that's the change management component, meaning the humans in,
Right.
in the process, um, and the readiness to kind of take the change. So
Mhm.
typically, these are more strategic goals that the business has, saying, "Oh, well, we need to do X, Y, Z to move our business forward. Let's buy this latest and greatest tool, put it in, and it's going to solve all of our problems." But maybe the data is not ready, the people aren't ready, they're not really sure if that tool will actually meet the needs of the business. So
Right.
I think it's more than one thing, but I think at the end of the day, the willingness to change is there, the readiness to change from a preparedness standpoint may not be, that foundation may not have been properly laid.
Okay, sounds good. How do you see AI especially addressing some of these core challenges, particularly in areas like consumer experience or supply chain optimization?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that AI properly used can be a huge benefit, almost as if you take a subject matter expert and say, could we build the best analyst for this subject matter expert? If
Right.
the AI and the subject matter expert work hand in hand together, I think it can solve a number of challenges. Some of the things that we're looking at right now is a little bit adjacent to supply chain management, but inventory management, and the demand planning associated with managing inventory for,
Right.
wholesale business, direct to consumer business, other channels that you might be selling products through, for my customers as an example, and trying to leverage um, the insights that you can gain from reviews on the web, trends on Google, to the actual sales that's happening on the consumer site, plus all the other marketing campaigns and things that promotions that you might be doing that will drive spikes in your business, and then dealing with the stockouts. So basically, I think AI can be hugely helpful as a forecasting slash demand planning tool as an example for organizations, if properly used and properly implemented, meaning you test it, you don't just trust the results that come out, you validate it, and again, it becomes sort of like a really great analyst in conjunction with the subject matter expert, the buyer, or whomever's responsible for that. So I think that's one of the many, many areas. And then you said customer support as well. I think it's huge. I think rather than having the AI interface with the customer, there's a lot of insight that can be gathered to help a customer service agent
Right.
and or to prevent that initial reach out from the consumer in the beginning, like size charts and things for clothing, and having the AI really try and optimize little bits and pieces along the consumer experience so the consumer never actually has a question. They just are presented with answers to their questions along the journey. And that's kind of
Right.
general. But I think that those are two key areas that you can help support on the customer service side, as well as kind of supply chain inventory management. I'm sure there's tons of other things in the supply chain that we could talk
Yeah.
about, but
Yeah.
that's the one that
Yeah.
comes to mind.
Sound good. Many businesses are hesitant to adopt new AI solutions due to perceived complexity or cost. What's your advice for organizations looking to make their first strategic move into AI?
Uh, well, I think that having that sort of caution is good. I think that organizations should consider the security and governance around AI, who's using it, which AI tools you're going to use, and make sure that you know, in the same way that you wouldn't have someone share personal or proprietary customer information
Right.
with the world, it's the same way with AI. I think you want to be, there's enterprise versions of AI, there's in kind of almost like on-prem style or at least siloed tools
Mhm.
that organizations can use that are not, just wide open to the world. So I think that's one consideration and one cost component that I think is healthy. But I don't think that organizations should be hesitant to move forward with AI. I think they should just have a healthy risk analysis done around it and have a governance plan in place, as well as probably the most important part after that is what would your goals be? And if you don't know what those goals are or how you can use AI, that's where people like myself and you can come into play and say, hey, look, like, here's the way your peers are using AI. Here's how you might be able to gain some efficiencies, not just reduce headcount, not just throw technology at your organization because
Right.
everybody is doing it. So I don't know if I've strayed too far from your question now, but I think that um, at the end of the day, it's good to have some measured pause when jumping into new technology. And I
Mhm.
think it's very important for organizations to have a clear plan, whether they can come up with that themselves or through the use of consultants or other experts in the field to kind of help guide them along the journey and do a crawl, walk, run type of scenario. Maybe there's
Right.
some simple things that could be done to analyze, consumer emails and feedback and information to give you better insights into how you might optimize your website using AI to do something relatively simple and low risk.
Right.
Measure improvement, see if it's working, and then start looking to move AI capability across different areas of the organization where it makes sense. I think
Right.
replacing humans out and out is probably not the place to start, and
Right.
maybe that's sort of the 1984 kind of view
Yeah.
of AI, and I think the reality is much, much different.
Right. And the intention of AI is not to replace people, definitely, and but to help improving the process, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
ideally, it can become kind of a superpower in your organization to make the consumer experience better and to remove busy work from people that are, your high performers in the organization. So if they're spending less time manipulating data, sifting
right.
through reports,
Right.
and trust the analytics and things that are coming out of AI, and then make strategic decisions and or changes to the business in a positive way. I think that's really what we're hoping to get out of
Absolutely.
AI. I think that's what all the shareholders of these organizations would want is just
Absolutely.
ultimately a better
Uh,
business.
yeah. Do you have an example of a recent AI implementation at 3Pointllc that delivers significant measurable result for a client in the D2C or e-commerce space?
Yeah, there's a number of them, but the one is still in progress, but I'm working on one right now that is specifically related to demand planning and forecasting.
Hmm.
So it's a very agile organization that runs very lean. They've got two product lines. One is a kind of an evergreen product line where sales curves and things are very consistent. So it's a
Hmm.
relatively easy business to plan for in terms of demand planning. And then they've got another line of the business that's relatively new within the last 12, 18 months, the product line, and it's growing exponentially. Um, so trying to do demand planning and forecasting for the high growth products is a very, very manual and labor intensive process for the buyer and
Right,
their one other helper. There's not enough people to go through the models that they've created in Excel currently. So what we are doing is between looking at vendor products that are available in the AI space, as well as some Claude code, we are kind of running a pilot of both kind of a custom built model using
hmm
Claude and that capability to kind of mirror what some systems are already doing and what their capabilities are. And what we're finding is that in a lot of instances, um, it's still very challenging to understand exactly the algorithms that are happening for systems
hmm
outside of
Yep,
what you've built yourself. So, for example, in Claude, you kind of see the deep.
right.
But we're finding that once you learn to trust the model, it's amazing how quickly you can get
Yep.
information that was taking an analyst, a day or so to
A
sort of
day
put
or so,
together
yeah.
a report for give me the top five styles, what their growth's going to look like. What should our demand planning forecast? Do we need to move
Hmm.
purchase orders forward? Do we need to liquidate things? It's it's not live, but it's actually very, very amazing how quickly these things happen. And then once you've built up the data and the model is learned, what it can do from a like a executive reporting uh,
Right.
capability is very cool. Like show me, take all that information that you just put into, a detailed table and then summarize it for me. And it,
Yep.
in some instances it doesn't say the right things, but in general, it gives somebody who does this job and knows planning very well, it gives them insightful tips and it's
Yep.
really it's like a great sounding board for them to kind of
Absolutely.
message things back. So to come back to your question, inventory and demand planning and forecasting, which is mostly statistical analysis
Right.
for AI models, is pretty
Hmm.
cool. And it's all at the end of the day, it's an educated guess. So I think that's a great use case for AI.
Absolutely. Looking ahead, what emerging AI trends do you believe will have the most profound impact on the retail and e-commerce sectors in the next, let's say, 1 to 3 years?
I
Even
think
three
that's a
years is too far, but 1 to 2 years
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, 6 months, man. I don't know. I think that's an excellent question, and I
Yeah.
I wish I could answer this with a crystal ball. I mean, there's so many interesting things that are going on, like AI shopping agents, for
Right.
example. Like, maybe not for that beautiful wedding dress that the bride's looking for,
Hmm.
but quite possibly maybe for like kids back to school clothes. You just have an AI agent says this is the size of my kid. Go get them something that looks cool or give me three options that I can put in front of my kids and they say this is the cool full outfit
Trends.
where I think something like that potentially. And I think that's what a lot of the brands that I'm working with are kind of playing with, like
Hmm.
how are we visible in AI related search because we're already seeing trends where instead of consumers saying, show me the best water sandal, it's what is the best water sandal for going, it's almost an
Right.
AI prompt type of a
Right.
search.
Right.
So that coupled with the actual shopping component, and then, when you think about shopping, you're starting to get price conscious. So you've
Hmm.
got, find me the right products, find them so that I can purchase them, put them in a cart, put them in some way that I can, easily purchase them. And then also, as you're doing that, give me the absolute best price. I think something in that, I mean, I know it's happening right now, but I think something around there is going to change. And then that'll change, X number. It depends on the brand, but X number of your consumers are now entering your website from yet another channel. It's not Facebook, it's not
Right.
Instagram, it's not TikTok,
Hmm.
it's ChatGTP or Claude or some other
Right.
browser-based AI tool.
Right.
Um, and then how do you configure your website to best serve that information back so that you are in fact putting forward the products that you want that prompt to grab,
Hmm.
and kind of playing between those two places. So you've obviously got like ChatGPT or whoever the players are in the marketplace on the AI side building the shopping agents, and then you've got the brands and the retailers
Right.
trying to kind of marry those things in the same way that SEO and things like that have been done in the past. I think
Right.
it's just a little bit more, I don't know if I'd say complicated, but there's more moving parts and pieces there.
Right.
So I don't know. I'd say that's the one thing that seems to be top of mind for the brands that I'm working with. Um, because it's
Great.
it's a large percentage of their business that they don't want to give up.
Right. So, beyond the technology itself, what organizational or cultural shift do companies need to embrace to truly leverage AI effectively?
I mean, I think it's two things, but I would say first and foremost, it's people. I think the organizations, as they're structured today, I'm not the one who came up with this. You can read about it, and I think there's a lot of truth to it, is how organizations are structured today versus how they can be structured in a very AI forward enterprise could be different. It doesn't mean that you have more or less people, but the roles may change. The role of the human may change. The role of an analyst may change to be more of a strategy type of a role and less of a data crunching role. Obviously, you still need people to validate it. And so I think that change management is going to be critical for success in AI. And then also data readiness. I mean, that's the age-old technology, saying sort of garbage data in, garbage data out. With AI,
Right.
it's going to be compounded because bad pieces of data along the journey will trip up the model, and then you won't get the
Absolutely.
expected results, and you'll say it failed or it's not as useful as we thought it would be. Um, but that's the same problem that every organization's had when implementing ERP systems or anything
Right.
else is,
Right.
this data feed, we can't map the data to get this element, so it's incomplete, and we have some sort of process to fill in the gaps, or you know, along the way, the data is not as structured as it needs to be to support AI. So I think those two things are, I mean, they've always been there in technology change and
Right.
transformation. I just
Right.
think with AI, it's going to happen faster. It's going to catch you more by surprise. I
Right.
don't think that there's anybody who has all the right answers to say, here's exactly what you need to do. You just need to constantly analyze your organization as an executive or as a manager and go, are we aligned? Are the technology and the people aligned? Yes or no?
Right.
What do we need
Right.
to do to realign them?
Cool. For businesses that have already started their AI journey, what are some of common pitfalls you have observed, and how can they be avoided?
Well, I think the number one thing that I see, and it's almost accidental, is use of non-enterprise AI, I'll say, like the governance component again. It doesn't mean that every employee is out there, using their own personal chat GTP, but it is possible, feeding whether that's consumer information that shouldn't be fed through or financial information from the organization or legal information that's going through non-enterprise tools. I would say that's one thing that I would really caution organizations to look at. And I know that there are potentially even technologies out there now that can help with this kind of, putting a stamp or a label or coding information that has been produced with AI so that as a business leader, to either double check or to caveat that information with AI,
Right.
and also ensuring that it was produced with a legitimate AI tool that's approved by the organization and not
Right.
something that's rogue and outside of the organization. So I think those things like out of the gate are kind of where I would want organizations to really focus, and then you can move into to other areas in terms of mistakes.
Right. Uh, Given the rapid pace of AI development, how does 3Point LLC stay ahead of the curve and ensure your clients are always implementing cutting edge yet practical solutions?
That's so hard because I mean, it's moving so fast.
Yeah,
I think we really are in a challenging time to
yeah,
keep up. Um, I think from my perspective, what's cool is like, things like Claude and Google, you can get free courses. You can, as an individual, try and keep yourself up to date. So I try to do that so that I'm as current as I can be with my clients. I try to talk with people in the industry and stay up on it. But, at the end of the day, there's somebody over here who's just built something and then it explodes, and, it sort of
right.
catches us all by surprise. So I think just having open eyes and ears and trying to if you're an organization and you're interested in AI, trying to surround yourself with people that are trying to stay at the forefront or work in
Right.
the industry is helpful. And
Absolutely.
sometimes it's just experimentation, try it.
Yep,
As long as you're not selling your data off or doing something risky, there's no reason you can't, have AI run in parallel to a process that you have today. You just have to manage it
absolutely.
like a project. And, that's a whole other conversation around how to manage a project. But if it's properly managed, I think that, organizations can experiment without a lot of risk.
Well, what's one piece of advice you would give to a managing director of a D2C company who is just starting to explore AI for their business?
Okay. Well, I think I've kicked the horse on governance. I think that's absolutely the first place I would start, because you wouldn't want AI based decisions to create compliance issues or other issues for your organization. So I think governance and security are paramount. So I would say first and foremost, make sure that you're using the right tools to ensure that you're not creating a compliance issue for your organization or a governance issue. Um, and then I would say start in small teams, start small. Find an area where you have a strong subject matter expert who knows for example, the demand planning example. Person who's running this project as a subject matter expert knows planning, has been doing it for 20 odd years. They know it inside and out. So they can really gut check AI and determine whether or not it's producing results that can be relied upon. So, I mean, whether you're using AI for legal capabilities, have a good attorney that's present that can review it and make sure it's good. And then all the other governance stuff around a project. But I think that validation and governance are paramount to AI, and then from there you can really
Get it
kind of.
from there. Yeah, sounds good. Here's a final question of the day. If you had a magic wand and could solve one major challenge for your client using AI, what would that one thing be?
Oh, I would say so right now for my clients, one of the biggest challenges, and a lot of them are on Shopify, and this is by no means a dig on Shopify, but in that ecosystem, you have so many different applications that are involved in producing a result for the consumer, whether that's promotions or discounts or ads. And inevitably, you end up with reporting discrepancies that can give senior folks in the organizations a lot of anxiety, looking at things like conversion rate drops or discrepancies between sales and actuals in between these various systems. So I would
Mhm.
love to wave a magic wand and make sure that all systems had the same same results and gave
Same
the
result,
same
yeah.
answers. Even if they're wrong, at least you can fix the one problem instead of five or six. So
Yeah.
that does keep me sort of busy as a service provider, but I think that that would be a huge win for businesses is to wave away all those reporting inconsistencies across different systems, and have them all just speak perfectly to each other.
Great. John, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation. Your expertise in technology transformation and AI's practical application for D2C, e-commerce, and omnichannel organization is truly invaluable. Thank you for sharing your time and insight with our audience today.
Thank you so much, Shabazz. I'm happy to be here. Hopefully it was helpful for everyone. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. So until next show, goodbye, everyone.